welcome to the Informed and Oblivious podcast, episode 22. I am Informed Phil, and this is Oblivious Raymond.
Yes, I am.
Yeah. He's a little happy and stoned, which is going to be the most happy part of this episode because this is going to be a very serious episode. Hence, the no jokes in the introduction, and not going to do the promotion thing this time. If people are interested in our channel off of this video, they can watch other ones for that to find out all the details. This is just like crazy times right now, crazy topic. I don't want to talk about that stuff in that kind of manner. This is a more serious episode, I think. And for those watching now, I'm sure everyone knows, but this past week, on September 10th, Charlie Kirk was politically assassinated at an event on a college campus.
Uh-huh.
And the time that it went down, wanted to record, but I'm kind of glad that we waited because things have panned out a lot more since then. I think. I think
there's a lot of misinformation going around for a while.
Yeah, well, and I think tensions like hit a peak on both sides, and there's a lot of people that posted immediately that same day. And for the people that knew him well, I understand why they did, and I would totally have the same reaction if I knew him personally. But I think there's a lot of people on both sides that like overreacted and overposted in the moment, and probably now regret it, and regret a lot of what is said. But yeah, again. More serious episode, and because usually we don't have the titles to these things till afterwards, but I think we're gonna title this one the death of speech ? And I think it's appropriate because I think we're at an aptly named to his organization. I think we're at a turning point in the U.S. and we don't know which way it's gonna go. And yeah, I think we've seen heightened reactions on both sides, and I think we're at a troublesome place if people can't have debates in public about varying opinions. Because despite what people are saying about the guy, he was nowhere near as radical as they think him to be or believe him to be. Because most people didn't watch his long form content; they just saw clips online. Mm-hmm. And it's so easy to clip farm people. And it's why like a lot of political commentators and people in the public sphere in general will put breaks for certain things, or they'll put things in between certain things so that you can't clip them together, or so that like you can see that it was clearly clipped together. Because people like to take whatever you say and edit it into anything they want. And you see this all the time with things like that AI bot of like Joe Rogan that can literally say like anything you want him to say.
Yep.
Yeah. And, but again, whether you agreed with the guy, disagreed with the guy, this kind of thing is never okay on either side. And at this moment in time, I don't think there's a bubbling up or a boiling point where you're going to see retaliation like that the other way. But there seems to be a schism on the right as how to react to this too. And that's a troubling part, because if this continues to escalate, we will just see people pull back and we will lose the ability to have open speech and open conversation in this country, which is a terrifying thing, because people don't really realize why the order of amendments are the way that they are, why it's the first, then the second, and the Founding Fathers debated heavily which one to put first. And there was a large contingent that wanted to put the Second Amendment first, to enshrine your gun rights first, and then your speech rights second. But they argued for a very long time to basically be like, no, the more important part is speech. Because speech is how you should settle arguments, how you decide things, how you figure things out. And then if speech falls apart and things get too extreme or things get too intolerable, then you have the second to protect yourself in whatever setting that might lead to where speech falls apart. Because a lot of people don't realize too.
How long after it was written did the amendments get added?
That was very soon after. You can look it up when the Bill of Rights was made, but if it's not when Washington was president, it was like shortly thereafter.
Uh, the first 10 amendments ratified December 15th, 1791.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
So,
it was a while after.
not that long after, because 1776 is when we say like the nation was born because we declared independence, but that's
Mm.
not really when it was born. The war ended in what? In 1981,
17.
1781. Sorry, 1981, 1781. And like, when was the Constitution ratified? That wasn't even ratified till the war was over.
1788. Okay.
This is when the Constitution was ratified, right?
Yeah. June 21st, 1788.
Yeah, yeah. So not that long after,
Yeah.
a couple of years after.
Okay.
So, it was still very much those core people there arguing these tenets. And, the thing that people don't realize is all these things in history, the revolution, the Civil War, all have a lead up period. These things don't happen overnight. They're not a tinderbox that goes up right away. There was build up even to the revolution, and even very much into the middle of the war itself, they were trying to talk it out with the British. They weren't trying to go into all out war. Now, unfortunately, communication was slow back then. So like things were moving in the US while they were also trying to communicate, but they were up to about halfway through the war trying to settle things with Britain, dialogue and ambassadors and
Mm.
open communication. So it's a very important thing to the founding fathers because above all, it should be communication and dialogue before any kind of violence is brought into the picture. And again, they understood that at certain points when that falls apart, you need to be able to defend yourself because who knows what happens when speech falls apart, but it shouldn't be the first option. And again, that goes for both sides. But right now we're seeing a bifurcation on the right. There's the people that are enraged by this and are doubling down and saying we're going to do more tours on campuses. We're going to go harder than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that are pulling back. The saying it's too dangerous to go out. I don't feel safe speaking. I don't feel safe talking to my neighbors about stuff. So like both are at odds. And then the thing that's woken up that hasn't woken up before is the moderates in the middle, the quote unquote normies. They're the ones that are the most upset by this and the most upset by people on the left celebrating the guy's death. And they're, for the most part, the ones that are going and getting people fired from their jobs.
Really?
Yeah, from the things that I've been seeing, like a lot of the right like isn't doing that kind of stuff. They're like, again, they're either really angry and they're saying we're gonna go out and do all this stuff in Charlie's honor, or they're kind of scared and they're like we're gonna pull back and like we're still gonna speak, but we're not gonna do public events anymore. And it's the moderates in the middle that are going, these people are disgusting and they need to lose their jobs because I think a lot of the moderates there are the ones that are still kind of angry from 2020, and whether it's the cities that were burned down with the mobs that happened after all of the George Floyd stuff, or the people that lost their jobs because they didn't want to comply with the mandates. Those people are upset, and now they see this side that did that to them, and they're celebrating a guy's death who, like, for a lot of those people in the middle, he was just like a milk toast middle of the road guy that was like out there as like your just general like family man conservative talking with college kids. So when they saw that, they're like, oh hell no, we're going to get these people fired the way they got us fired.
I'm not okay with that part.
I think it's a problem because it's going to create more radicalized people, I think.
I mean
But
with that, but I just think in general, like if you're causing issues talking about that sort of shit at work, that's one thing. But if you're doing it in your own time, I don't think you should be liable for, like, if you're not breaking any laws. Is it fucked up? Sure, to say that kind of shit, but should it cost you your job? If it's like if you're doing it on your own time, I don't think so.
The one exception I have to that is healthcare workers and first responders. I think if you're openly celebrating the death of somebody who has a different political view than you, you're a liability to that job. Because what happens if somebody like that gets hurt? Are you going to actually give them the care that they deserve, or you're going to be like, yeah, fuck that guy?
I
It's
was gonna
kind of
say
a hard line to draw
you see
there.
that in healthcare all the time with like people doing that, and the
Having a
what is it,
different
the Hippocratic oath
political,
and having to do it. But yeah, the people who actually like you say, are celebrating it. That I don't I don't have an answer for how I feel about that one, but I do see where you're coming from.
yeah, I think that one's a much like finer line to walk. The school teacher one too. That one is more because the schools are afraid of being sued.
Mm. Again, as
The
long as they keep their mouth shut at work, I don't see a problem with.
Yeah, the rest of the businesses, it's like up to their discretion. But I have a feeling that a lot of these business owners, for the most part, and again, there are some more liberal businesses, so there might be people that this get reported to, and they're like, "Good job, keep it up, we agree." But I think that a lot of the business owners, especially the small business owners, tend to be conservative, and
Mm.
they're like, this person is actively celebrating the death of somebody that thinks like me. I don't want them working.
I'm sure. I mean, well, it's probably a good portion of that, but I think it's more just like they don't want anybody in there, court of public opinion and all that that's going to hurt the brand.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I'm not really a fan of it. I get why they're doing it, but the thing is now we're at a point where the gloves are off. And because the gloves are off, they're using tactics that were used against them. Because again, when people were coming out against the riots that happened after George Floyd, or coming out against the vaccines or the different medical things going on, these people were actively seeking out where they worked and trying to get them fired, and in a lot of cases did get them fired
Yep, it's
back
fucked up
then.
then. It's fucked up now in the reverse way. I don't agree with it at the time.
No, no, I know, but I'm saying like this is what happens. Like when you start doing these things, the trade-off starts going back and forth. Now, I'm glad that right now what they're doing is holding vigils instead of going out and like trying to hunt people down. But this is the thing, if another one of these events pops off, it might not be as nice the next time. And that's what I'm really concerned about is, we should never be celebrating for whatever somebody's like view or opinion is, uh, uh, violence against them for their speech, particularly murder. Um, you say the wrong thing to somebody, you might get punched in the mouth. It happens at times, but that's usually, you'd say it at a bar or something. But, and again, that's not right either. But
But as a public figure,
yeah, to start assassinating prominent public discourse figures is a real problem. And the things that are going to come out in the future about how this guy got radicalized to this point, and a lot of people like to speculate and think it's groups that did it. It might just be that this guy was sick and spent too much time online and became this way. Because another problem is, and what a lot of the people celebrating this stuff and are now finding out that most people don't think that way, is we've known for a long time the left tends to be an echo chamber, and it's done by polls on them where predominantly people that are on the left consume only left-wing content and left-wing media, where not everybody on the right, but more than half of the people on the right consume a mix of media from both. So they get both sides. So they understand that there's people out there that don't think like they do, whereas the other side knows there's people that don't think like they do and think they're subhuman people. And that's the problem. You only celebrate this kind of thing when you don't think they're like
people.
yeah. And that's the real problem with this whole thing. Because if you start celebrating people's deaths, eventually the shoe will be on the other foot and people will be celebrating yours. And that's when the whole system falls apart. I watched a guy have a video on it today, and it's a very good point. It's like if you keep feeding into that mentality, eventually you get the Hatfield and McCoys,
Yeah.
where it's just you have generations of people then growing up learning that don't feel bad for them and normalizing like that kind of violence and rhetoric. And we don't want that. But
Have they caught the guy yet?
yeah,
I haven't been keeping up well enough.
they think they caught the guy, because like from the video footage and everything, it seems like he's the guy,
Mm.
and his dad turned him in, but he hasn't.
That's the dude who was like hopping down from the building.
Yeah, he hasn't confessed, and he's not cooperating with the FBI. That's why I don't think this is some kind of like super mentally ill person or somebody that's been like super radical. Because some people are like, oh well, maybe he did it to make him into a martyr to like make his message spread even further.
Now, if it was a manifesto of some sort, he'd be saying it.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
This is not somebody that's like super mentally ill where they've got like a manifesto or so radicalized and so deranged that they have something like that. This is somebody that like the people that knew him are coming
Mhm.
out are saying he's like a chronic Reddit kid. So this is just like somebody who's chronically online and just like feeding into the stuff. And on top of that has the stressor of uh it seems to be a clear picture now that his entire family was very conservative and he was a liberal at some point. We don't know when, because again, kids that went to high school with him described him as like a chronically like online kid.
Mhm.
So it's quite possible he started thinking that way in high school. We don't know, but he had the stressor of he probably felt like he couldn't talk to anyone around him about this kind of thing, and then was just like set off by it. And that added thing to this, and this is all speculation. Maybe we'll find out the reason. Maybe we'll never find out the reason because it's up to the guy to say it.
Mhm.
Either way, but my speculation from the fact that we now know he had a trans roommate, boyfriend, girlfriend, who knows? Like we don't know the exact like relationship with them, but either way, their roommate was trans or like a guy transitioning at that point. I think maybe with the recent stuff, the trans shooter, the anti-trans rhetoric, that like maybe something just set him off to that point where he's like, this guy is the reason why my roommate slash boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, can't have a normal life. So I'm gonna go take this guy out. There's that possibility too. And I think some people were saying that this guy had like spoken with and debated like Charlie Kirk at one of these things before, but I can't find like real good evidence of it because like they have the video of the guy, but like it's hard to tell if it's the exact same guy because all the pictures that we get of this guy are very grainy anyway. And nobody really says their name at these things like
Mhm.
when they like debate with him, but uh I don't know. The guy is sick, but I think the thing that people need to realize is what he is ideologically doesn't matter. The thing that matters was the response to the guy's death. That's what's got people upset. People are upset because one side sat there and started cheering on the guy's death. And regardless of like again your position, the guy had a family, had a
Mhm.
wife and two
He was
kids.
a person.
Yeah.
Even if you thought he was a bad person, like most of the same people who are cheering on are also against the death penalty. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, and there's ways to deal with that. If you don't agree with somebody, and there especially somebody like him that was going out and doing open forum debates, go and talk to the guy. Try to change his mind, like as the thing said. And you might not change
yeah.
people's mind because
And
oftentimes that stuff isn't going to change people's mind.
plus, he was like a professional debater.
Yeah, but the guy's position definitely did shift over time because I was watching a clip today where at one of his things a guy came up and was basically saying that that if you're gay, you're not a conservative and you don't belong in the conservative movement. And he basically told him like, well then you don't belong in the conservative movement because like what does it matter what these people are doing in their personal life if we all have the same cause in mind? And he's like, well, aren't you a Christian? And he's like, yeah, but you don't promote that kind of stuff by like meeting it with hate. He's like, Jesus like went
Mhm.
around and preached all over the Mediterranean to all different types of people and sat down with all different kinds that like we would consider like grievous offenses today. It's probably just messing with his water out. Don't get paranoid about your cat. But basically explain to him like Jesus sat down with tax collectors and prostitutes and all these like nasty people of society back then and had normal conversations and treated them like humans. So it's like if you can't do that, then you don't belong in the conservative party. But they're not spreading those clips around. They're spreading other clips that are like half sound bites that make the guy sound like the most evil person in the world. And I think that's what people need to take away from this thing for the most part is we need to stop buying into this soundbite like clip farm
Mm.
like media now. And if you see somebody and somebody's clipped, go watch
Go
the
watch the
longer
whole
form
video.
content. Yeah. Because I even seen things like recently, like there's a University of Penn professor who he puts all his like courses online. He records it. It's something where he's like openly debating with the students and like talks to them and whatnot. And after this on 9/11, he did that open forum with them and was like asking the students like how they felt about the whole situation, what was going on. The person that I originally saw like with that was like clipping it and responding to it, but clipped them out of order to like obfuscate these kids in like a weird and condescending way. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like you could have reacted to the thing in the way that it was and it would have been completely fine and you could have got the same point across, but you clipped it in weird ways. So, you know,
To stir viewership.
yeah, with all these
Yeah.
things, watch the full form content and even if it makes you mad, watch it all the way through. Because that's the thing. I can't tell you how many times I've watched certain content creators on the left and the right where like they piss me off in the beginning, but then when you hear the whole conversation explained out or you watch the whole content, you end up having a completely different view and mindset of it. Like I'm sure there's stuff that we say on here that infuriates some people if they eventually listen to it, and they'll
Yeah.
think we're idiots and morons. But if you like play it out, we'll either tell you we're idiots and morons, or we'll have a different like viewpoint on it later.
Mm.
Like the world is
Or
not black and white.
yeah, even if you end up disagreeing with us, maybe you'll at least see where we're coming from, why we think the way we did.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's what speech is supposed to be about: understanding. Because if you shut down speech, you shut down that understanding, and then you'll never know. And these things don't go away. Like the like people say, the best disinfectant is sunlight. If you allow people to speak in open forums and open public and open debate, they will either come to realize the error of their ways, or you might. And you might realize maybe there's a way in the middle. There's a compromise somewhere. Because again, most things in life are compromise. We're not all this cookie cutter design. Nobody feels the same way as any other person. Like you're not going to agree with somebody 100% of the time.
Mhm.
And I saw another person talk about that. It's like if you do, you're schizophrenic and you're talking to yourself. like there's nobody out there that's going to see the world exactly the same way that you do. And I'm just concerned that this will have a chilling effect on speech. And I also think, because again, the left seems to fold in on itself and not listen outward, as evidenced by a lot of the videos that I've been seeing on the response to what happened on Thursday. But uh, I think people need to be very careful, and we're at a point now where we need to bring the temperature back down, and we
Mhm.
need to have open discussions again. But I will say this that the left needs to be aware of. I think the age of tolerance from the right is over, and I think no longer are they going to see people be silent. I think now when they start bringing up nonsense, people are going to challenge them on it openly in public in areas where they don't expect it, where their friend groups will now start saying like, okay, well, I sat here and listened to you motherfuckers talk like this and talk shit about people that think like me for such a long time, and I'm not gonna fucking take it anymore. And I'm gonna fucking tell you. And I don't know how people are gonna react to that, but I will say, because there are going to be more of these public events now, and people are going to be trying to do it more, and you're going to see more prominent figures do this now. Please, for the love of God, of anyone that listens to this, do not repeat what happened. Because if we have a repeat of anything or an escalation of anything that's happened so far, I think we'll hit a point that we can't turn back from. And I don't think people are going to like where it goes. I don't think people think out where that's going to go.
Mhm.
I think some people think they know where it's going to go and what the outcome's going to be, but we have no idea. But we do know historically that it doesn't end well. Because with all this, besides watching all the videos back and forth with the commentators, I've been watching a lot of videos from historians. And the thing that you should worry is when historians start to worry. because there's a lot of people that study points in history, particularly political strife, that are looking at this right now and going, if we have another event like this, we might go into escalation territory that you can't come back from without exceeding violence. And I don't want that. I don't think a lot of people do, but
I hope a lot of people don't.
we've seen the fringes on either side seem to be okay with it, and that's the problem. Because people always think like these grand things that happen in history, they think that it has to be the majority of people, but they don't realize that in most events like this in history, in most countries around the world, it is a small percentage of people that lead to this change. I think even when the Revolutionary War happened here, it was less than 20% of the population. Most people like either didn't get involved or didn't really care and like went around about their daily lives for the most part. There wasn't super like open fighting in the streets. Like even in the Civil War, it was mainly that way.
So they
So
just wanted to tend to their farms.
yeah, so if people think like, oh well, the majority of people don't feel this way, it doesn't take the majority. It takes a large enough minority of people to get aggressive and radicalized and to the point where they had enough to affect these kind of changes.
And then somebody has to do something about it and it becomes everybody.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But I am deeply concerned and deeply troubled by the people that were celebratory of these things.
Yeah.
And again, I've been kind of numb to this whole situation. A lot of people like deeply upset by it, but I think it's because people haven't been in this as long as I've been in this. I've been following all this stuff for a very, very long time. I will say probably back to like 2003, 2004 is when I started to get invested and involved in politics, the political sphere, the culture war, all these different things. And I've seen all the different phases and I've seen it go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, escalate, escalate, escalate. And I think the problem is now, too, there's a disconnect between millennials and Gen Z because the one thing that I took away from watching that college professor's class is the younger generation has no idea what's been going on. Because I want to say we've been in this period of like heightened tension between the left and the right for about 10 years now. Donald Trump certainly accelerated it. It didn't help like that any because he's a very inflammatory person. But this has been going on, I want to say, since like 2010, since like the Tea Party era. It's been like back and forth escalation. But the younger generation, when he was quizzing them, he's like, "Do you guys ever think about this like spiraling out and like getting worse?" They're like, not a single one of them was like, "Oh yeah, I think about it getting worse." They were all more concerned with the gun violence thing and gun control because they've experienced the whole school shooter thing that's like really taken off with their generation. Which again, I hate that argument with them all the time because we've had guns around in this country since the founding of this country, and only recently has the school shooter thing become a problem, which means something has changed recently in our history to make this a problem. Like, because, like, even when we were kids, that kind of thing was like, unless you were in an inner city school, that kind of thing was very rare. And the inner city school ones was often gang violence.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really count that in that. But what did we have when we were younger? The Columbine and Virginia Tech were like the only two big ones, really.
It was much rarer.
And I think social media had a huge part to play in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the internet has radicalized a lot of people.
Yes. And I think the problem is because education is slow to catch up with technology, we don't have the skills and the tools to teach the younger generation how to navigate that successfully and without warping their minds. And honestly, it's hard and I've thought about this before, but I honestly almost think that akin to driving, drinking, like all these things, I almost think that we should regulate the internet in a way where the internet is not accessible to anyone under the age of 18. And maybe it's just better for the young forming mind if you are not on the internet until you're of age. That way you don't get exposed to any of this. You don't get exposed to the bullying of your peers through these websites. You don't get exposed to extreme you know, sexual or violent content online. You don't get influenced by adults preying on children. Like, block all of that by just making it illegal to access the internet before you're 18. And when people say, "How do you do this?" Require
caveat at least superstition or supervision.
uh, even then, I don't know. Like maybe if your kid's like there over your shoulder when you're on the computer, like, but it's like, with alcohol, technically, if you give your kid fucking alcohol before they're 21, you can get in trouble for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would say
But I
I
think
don't, I don't know how I feel about the idea in general, but at the very least, I would say acceptable under supervision of some sort. I don't know to what
but
level, but
lack of parental supervision is how we got here in the first place. Because let's be honest, our group is
mm,
our generation is the one that grew up navigating the internet as it developed. And come on, our parents weren't fucking moderating the shit that we
mm,
did. They might have tried, but we were more tech savvy than them on the internet. Now, if we required it that you needed a government issued ID to even access the internet, it would stop a lot of that. And I'm not really a fan of that either, but like I think a lot of this stems from we don't understand fully what being online like that from a young age does to people. And the AI tools are making it worse for a lot.
for sure.
So it may just be something that, like, again, until you hit 18, no access to the internet. Like, we block so many things in society till you're an adult. I don't see why this would be like
Mm,
a something that should be any different. Or maybe like if it's not an adult, similar to like driving, like we give you some kind of like learner's permit as a late
mm.
teenager, and then like, okay, we're gonna ease you into this situation. You're not just gonna go full bore
Yeah,
like, okay,
that unlocks certain areas of the internet.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it might just be like, instead of like the whole, because I think the fact that like, oh, you got to be 13 to sign up for this website is way too young for certain things, and it's just a problem, and you never know what kids will get into, because YouTube ran into that problem years ago, where the kids content eventually like led to like weird like warped content from what it kept feeding you into with the algorithm, and people were like manipulating this because it got them views and clicks and money because of it. And I don't think people realize that too. Like, I don't think people realize that bot farms exist. People will pay for things to manipulate like accounts and algorithms and what you see, and so that like you think that things are more prevalent and popular than they actually are. A great example of this, and I'm sure it happens on probably Truth Social, is probably the right wing equivalent. Maybe X. X is probably a better example, but for sure it happens on Reddit. Reddit is like 90% fan fiction. Like, I am convinced that 90% of it is just made up for clicks and views, because you get likes and responses based off of what people see and
Mm,
promote. So like if you're like, "Oh yeah, I had this thing totally happen to me." They're like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew that was true. I knew this is what happens." And then fucking people upvote it and up comment it, and you're like, "Ah, yeah, look, I'm amazing. Let me write more fan fiction about what happened to me." Because it's not like people are verifying that these
mm.
stories are true. You just say, "Oh yeah, thing happened." And I know thing is popular right now,
Mm.
so thing definitely happened to me.
Yeah, I'm certain that happens plenty. Some
Yeah.
of it's very obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of it's not so obvious, but like you see enough of it where you're like, "Come on, this can't be like happening this
Mm,
often. Like something's wrong here." And if people are like, "Well, that's not true." Look at TikTok trends. TikTok trends happen all the time, and all it is people say, "Oh, this trend is popular, let me copy it
mm-hmm.
exactly and promote my likes and views." Same thing happens in written form content, and people are insane if they don't think that's the case. But it's a lot of younger people, and they're not told this. It is also a lot of younger people shit talking on the internet. You engage with some of these things, and more often than not, it's people that are like young kids trying to troll people and trying to get the reaction
Mm.
and that response. And when people are like, "That's not the truth," it's like, yeah, remember yourself on Xbox Live as a teenager. Like, come on.
Uh-huh.
Like, people were saying horrendous shit, and it was just to try to get you mad. And if you got mad, the funnier it was.
Mhm.
Like, that sentiment hasn't changed. It's just the delivery method has changed.
Yeah, we'd be playing Halo and do shit to the point where we get banned, and we'd have 4 guys in a room and just rotate through whose screen name we were on.
Exactly. And that's what people do with these accounts, because most accounts are just tied to an email, and you can make infinite emails through infinite like platforms now. So nothing like stops that. Like, we don't do that kind of manipulation because, one, it's against TOS, and two, we want to grow a fan base naturally. But plenty of people do shit where like they start like a YouTube or something, make like 20 different emails, follow the account, and then just like up the viewership and up the engagement artificially, because there's monetary things attached to these things. Like, whenever money's involved, don't trust things
Mhm.
on any side of the aisle, because they're going to do it for the money reason. Right? It's just, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but I'm hoping in these next few months that things don't escalate, because I'm very concerned, because I listened to Charlie's wife give the speech after death. Is very powerful, very heartbreaking, because already her the oldest kid has asked where her dad's at,
Mm.
and it's just like, fuck, because the kid's too young to tell. The kid's
Mhm.
3 years old. That's the oldest kid is 3 years old. You can't tell that fucking kid their dad's dead. They don't even understand the concept yet. You know what I mean? Like that, like, because both of their parents are still alive and haven't died. So it's not like the kid's been to a funeral
Mm.
yet to understand that concept. Because I think like the first time I learned about like death in my life was like 6 or 7 when we went to a funeral, and my parents had to sit us down and like explain that to us. They're like, "What do you mean? Like, what's going on?" Because they needed us to understand the concept, to understand that it was like kind of semi serious what we were going to, so that like we weren't going to be like little kids like when we were there, you know?
I couldn't tell you when my introduction was.
Well, certainly not at 3. I'd hope not anyway, but but yeah, so listening to that speech was heartbreaking, but at the end of it all, she's like, we're going to continue to have these events, most notably the Turning Point USA event that happens, I think, in November or December each year. It's like a big convention thing. And I hope to God that nothing happens at that event. And I hope that, I know they get protested a lot when they do these things. I hope this year people realize that it's not the right time to do it. And I hope not a single protester shows up to that event. Just don't go. Don't
That's not going to
disrespect
happen.
it. Like, leave it alone this year. I I know it's not going to happen, but I'm terrified that that's going to be something that they try to escalate, especially because the most horrific thing is people have been making death threats against his wife now, and they've been saying horrific shit like they want to go after her so that they orphan the kids, and then the kids are raised into foster care so that they grow up like with the right frame of mind. I was like, God, like, you people are fucking sick. Anybody that sits there and wishes that kids grow up without their parents are fucking horrific. Like, that shit is so fucked up. And there's so, and like, that's the thing that's turned a lot of people too that I saw, is that like people that grew up without a parent are like, this is fucking horrible, and I won't support anybody celebrating the fact that 2 little girls are now going to have to grow up without their dad
Mm-hmm.
for nothing too. It's not like, it's still sad and it's fucked up, but like, if their dad was like a cop or a firefighter or somebody in
Mm-hmm.
the military and they sacrificed their life for the greater good, like, it sucks. They're still gonna grow up without the parent, but that's like a story they could be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure these kids will be proud of their dad too when they grow up and learn more. But now they have to have on horrific detail and very close up footage
Mm-hmm.
of their dad getting offed. And there's sick people out there that the moment, because they were already sending that kind of shit to his wife,
Jesus.
the moment that these kids get older, they're going to send that kind of shit to them. And it's so fucked. And for people out there that haven't seen the video, I don't recommend seeing it.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, if that's not something that you've like you could tolerate or you've seen or you've experienced, don't seek it out. Don't watch it. It's graphic. It's fucked up. It's horrible to watch. Um, Again, I think it shows too much to like the amount of shit that I've seen both ways on this kind of stuff that like I was just like I was indifferent to it, because I saw the video of Trump getting like shot at the
Mhm.
assassination attempt, and then like when I saw this thing, I was like, "Fuck!" When I saw the close-up one, again, it's very graphic. So if you don't want to hear that, please stop listening now, and then like come back in like 5 minutes. But you could see it. It went through and out, and it gushed. Like
Mhm.
it looked like basically like Kool-Aid coming out the side. When I saw that, I was like, he's fucking dead. I was like, there's no way he's gonna make it. And they were saying for a long time, oh yeah, he's in critical condition and blah 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 blah. And then eventually they said he was dead. But when I saw it, I was like, there's no fucking way. Like it would take a miracle.
Sometimes they can do a lot, but
Yeah, but like because of the major like arteries in your
mhm.
neck, it would have to basically go in such a way that it didn't hit either. And from the amount that like came out the
Mhm.
exit wound side, like you knew they hit an artery. There was no way. People are saying it hit the carotid, not like the jugular, but like
Mhm.
either way, like you hit that major, and
Yeah.
unless you get somebody to stop that immediately, and that's the thing. Like I don't think anybody on his staff was like super medically trained like that. He
Mhm.
had he had bodyguards, he had security, but like there's nobody that's like a trauma person there on staff. It's not like luckily nothing was more serious with Donald Trump, but I would hope, I'm not certain on it,
Mhm.
but I would hope that like
There's
with the
somebody trained
president, there's
there. Yeah.
somebody trained for like emergency situations. Like, but this was nothing like that. And people are like, well, what about? It's like, dude, we've been to high school and college events. The most you have for something like that is they'll have like an ambulance on
Mhm.
standby. But those people aren't trained to deal with something like that. They're just gonna put like, okay, we gotta get them to the hospital and hopefully like
Mhm.
they can fix it. Like, I have a lot of respect for EMTs, but they're not fucking miracle workers. Like, they're not trauma surgeons. Like, they're not gonna be able to do anything about that.
Yeah.
Like,
If you pop somebody's jugular or carotid, then I mean you
dude,
can stop the bleeding, but then there's no blood to the brain. Either way,
yeah,
they're not making it to the
even
hospital.
even military field medics aren't gonna be able
Uh-huh.
to do something about that. That's the horrific thing of something like that. They'd probably just be like, here's the morphine, so you don't have to feel that on your way out. But and even then, they might field assess it like they're going to be gone in seconds anyway,
Mhm.
because this was all on the heels of the horrific shit with the girl on the train in North Carolina getting her throat slashed too, and we saw with that, she got cut across the neck, and within probably 30 seconds, while she was terrified, freaking out, she collapsed, blood loss, and in shock, and people are like, "Well, how do you not?" It's like the body just like goes like, I don't know what happened, and you just like your brain shuts down and you don't respond to the pain and the trauma, and then that's it. Like she probably didn't even, because it's not like I saw from the video there, it's not like she was like, oh my god, I'm covered in blood.
Oh, there was video of that too.
Yeah, that's what sparked that one up, because that one happened in I think like the third week in August. It happened late August. I want to say August 22nd is when that one happened with her. But the video footage just got released, and
Mhm.
that's what got people up in arms. So people were still upset about that, and then the Charlie Kirk thing happened, and it's just like added to this whole like thing, and people are pissed, kind of rightfully so, because they're tired of living in a country where they can't be safe anymore. And I feel bad for the girl. She was a Ukrainian refugee, but like really the problem is when you're in those European countries, most of Europe gets around by public transportation. And they don't realize that public transportation, and this is for all our European visitors that come here, public transportation in the US is not, it's just not. Like you could get on things like the NJ Transit, like the regular trains tend to be safe, but any subway, any light rail thing, any public bus, here in the U.S., you really got to have your head on a swivel. She hopped on the train and was on her phone immediately, and this guy just like he's schizophrenic, or he had some other mental health issue. Let out like 14 times, repeat offender, but he just went psycho and just stabbed her. And then afterwards, because they had the full extended version. But again, the guy's crazy, so like people are like, "Oh, it's racist." It's like, no, the guy's schizophrenic, and he shouldn't have been. Like the problem when we shut down all the mental health facilities because a guy like that would have been locked up in one of those in the past, and we wouldn't have let him out. Um, but yeah, he can be seen on camera afterwards going like, "Yo, I got that white girl," but it's not because the guy was like try. It's because the guy was out of his mind, and he's still out of his mind. But yeah, she hopped on the train on her phone immediately, and then he just comes out, boom, 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 3 times, and then like walks. She looks terrified. She doesn't understand what's happened. Collapses. Nobody goes to help her, which is like the real sad part. And then the guy like was walking through the train like, "Ah, yo, I got that white girl," with a horrific amount of blood dripping off of the knife that he had. Like it was crazy. Like because she didn't look like she got that like she didn't look like she was covered in that much blood, but it was like he had dipped his knife in red paint and it was like dripping that much blood through the train. It was crazy. And the worst part was she had collapsed over there in the corner. No one came to help her, and the people that came to help her was eventually after all this, and why people were all so like incensed about it too, because it was like on the train in that moment, majority black people on the train. She's a white girl, collapses over. Nobody does anything. Nobody responds. The people that helped her eventually and discover what was going on is 2 white girls. Nobody sees the extended video of this, but they like had the full video, and I've seen the clip of that after. 2 white girls hop on the train and find her collapsed over there, and like, what the fuck is going on? And they're freaking out, and they call 911. It's just like, what the fuck? Because that's the other thing. We have normalized too much in our society. When horrific shit happens to people, we don't engage. And it's because of things like what happened with Daniel Penny, where he intervened with a crazy guy on the subway, and then he's facing like serious jail time. Like we gotta stop like normalizing that kind of shit where when people are in trouble, we don't help. Because if you have that kind of thing, just like normalizing making fun of a guy's death, you're eventually going to create a society that just doesn't care what happens to human life. And it's going to be a terrible place to live when that happens. But yeah, she got fucked up. And again, it's because she's from Ukraine. So I'm sure she thought, oh, it's the train. It's safe. Things like that don't happen on the train. The worst you're going to see on the train over there is like somebody might pickpocket you. You're not the stabbings, the shit like that doesn't really happen. That's why in Europe the bulk of the terrorist attacks that had happened in the past was people like doing like they were blowing up trains and shit because they were attacking the transportation that people thought was safe. Like so, again, really sad to see, but again, if you're not from the U.S., you got to have your head on a swivel on public transportation. You can't just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be fine."
Fucked up.
Yeah, it is fucked up. And like to a degree you gotta have your head on a swivel even on like at a fucking airplane, dude. You see that guy recently that was like faking having a bomb on the plane and the people like tackled him or like holding him down and they're like trying to figure out like does he really have a bomb? What's going on? And they're like, why would you do that? Why would you say, oh, I don't know. I don't know. The guy was like, I got a bomb. I'm going to blow up the whole fucking plane. Death to America. And he starts shouting, Allah Akbar. And fucking like, fucking, the guys tackled him. And he's like, get off me. Get off me. And he's like, that's my phone. That's my phone. And fucking had nothing on him, but he just lost his mind on the plane. I don't know, man. Like, and that's the problem is like, it just seems like people are not well anymore, and I don't know what the remedy to that is. I've always been fucked up, so you know. But it's scary to see the amount of other fucked up people in the world right now.
A lot of people more fucked up than you.
But yeah, I don't know what the solution is, and I'm a lot more calm in this than I thought I would be. And again, I think it's best that we waited till the days after, because a lot of people were heated in the response after. A lot of emotional people right now, and a lot of people just like generally terrified for themselves and their family, because that's the thing that like certain people that I've talked to is they see themselves represented in Charlie Kirk because they shared a lot of the views that he had, and like it was just a normal family guy that loved America and wanted to push pro family values. And like now they're like, I feel that way, and I know a lot of people that were glad that he was dead and hated his views, and they're like, do they want me dead? The scary part, when people start questioning if the people in their neighbors in the society would be okay with seeing them killed, that's when social cohesion starts to fall apart. So, I don't know. I know you're very stoned.
No, I'm just. Have you seen video of people asking that question, or is that a projection? Because I haven't seen any videos of people like, "Hey, do my want
No,
me
no,
dead?"
no. It's from talking to people that I know. Because the few people that like know where I stand on things, like have reached out to me on this. They're like, "What?" I'm like, some people I've talked off the ledge. I'm like, now's not the time. Don't go crazy. Don't be that guy. Like, relax. But other people have been like, these are people that I thought were friends, and like, that I thought cared about me, and they're saying shit like this, and I know that, if they knew my views, now I feel like they would want me dead the same way they want this guy dead. And I'm just like, well, because I tell those people, I say, well, the problem is a lot of people that have these contrary views, myself included, when friends or family bring these things up, you just don't have the argument because it's not worth the
Mm.
argument, because you're not going to change their mind, and you value the relationship with that person more than the debate over the thing. But it seems like the reverse is not true, and I think that woke up a lot of people to that fact, and a lot of people are terrified of that fact, that there's a class of people in the country that has dehumanized them to the point where killing them is okay. And that's where we run into very scary territory. And it's very ironic to me that the guy had carved into the bullets anti-fascist rhetoric when killing the people that you don't agree with is the antithesis of fascism. That's fascism, plain and simple. The whole fascism that people bring up in the past, which maybe we could do an episode in that in the future. I still argue whether that was really far right or it's still just the right of the left extremism. But regardless, fascism and what Hitler did in Nazi Germany was he killed his political opponents because he couldn't win the argument. He didn't have enough support. So he did things like Kristallnacht and which I think is also the Night of the Long Knives is what that is, where he went in and strategically with his brown shirts murdered his political opposition so that he could rise to power within the country. If he didn't do that, he would have never gotten into the position of power that he did, because he
Knight of Glass, Crystal.
so is it two then? Because I think there's Crystal Knock and there's the Night of the Long Knives. I
Oh, they
think there was,
two different nights.
yeah, I think there was two events.
Okay.
I think one he attacked the parliament, right, and then another one he like attacked like all his political opponents. So I think he killed his political opponents and then he attacked parliament to incite the rest of the people to back him for this unification of Germany and the thing that he was doing. But either way, that's what fascism is. If you can't win the argument with words, you try to win it with violence, and that's never the solution, and it never ends well. And all of that's the perfect example, because if he was on the right side of history with this thinking, which many of the people that commit these kind of atrocities think they are, if he was on the right side of history with this thinking, he wouldn't have lost the war the way that he did. Like, regardless of the short-term victories of people like that, eventually in the end they lose out, and hopefully that's the way that it continues. But again,
It'd be nice to skip the war part in the middle.
yes, and that's why I'm saying, like, regardless of where your stance is, fight out with words and ideas, not with fists or guns or knives. Like, we need to continue to have the political debate. And I'm on board with the people that are now like, I'm not going to stand idly by and be silent like I had in the past. And maybe, if people had spoken up more beforehand, we wouldn't have gotten to this point. But hopefully, people speaking up now will stop it from escalating further. But we'll have to see. I don't know.
Hopefully.
Yeah. But anyway, it's been about an hour, our usual time. I think I've talked my piece on this, and we'll have to see how things unfold in the coming days. But again, I think the motive behind the guy who did it doesn't matter. I think the more important part was the response, and then I think the more important part going forward is the response from here. And I'm not telling people to roll over with their belly up and just take it, but I am telling people to have temperance in their response, i.e., you disagree with people across the aisle, express those disagreements, but don't escalate the disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
But don't remain silent either. I think remaining silent on these issues is how we got to this place in the first place. People were very tolerant of other people, especially because predominantly on the right, and it's not everybody on the right, but the predominant on the right are Christians, and Christians follow the doctrine for the most part of turn the other cheek. And I think that is good up until a point. You could turn the other cheek, but you could turn the other cheek with voicing your opinion on why you think the thing is wrong still. You could say, you can live your life the way you want to live it, but I disagree with it, and this is why. Um, the thing I'm more concerned about is the people in the middle, the normies, quote unquote, that got woken up through this whole thing and are pissed and don't know that struggle that's been going back and forth for a while now, and they're just anger, and they're pointing their anger in one direction. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes, but I think we'll see how it unfolds in the upcoming months, and I think the really deciding factor is going to be how the elections go in November. And with the anger and the sentiment and the people backing down from the left that I see now, I'm predicting, and we'll see if it's true, but I'm predicting, if not a complete Republican dominance, a majority Republican outcome for elections in November. We're not in the midterm, but I think what that'll do, and I'm hoping at least, because politicians want to keep power first and foremost. That's always what they want. Regardless of whether you're Democrats or Republican, you want to keep the power that you have. So I'm hoping that if you see enough of a swing where Democrats lose what they thought they should have won in November, that what they do is they excise radicalism from their party and say, no longer do we support this bullshit. We're going back to what it used to be back in the day, where Republicans and Democrats were very closely aligned with a few issues that they disagreed on. Because people are like, why did the debates back in the day used to be so like cordial and seemed like discussion? Because there wasn't much difference between a Democrat and a Republican back in the day. It was a few disagreements fiscally, and a few disagreements on like things like maybe like certain immigration policy or like war policy, something like that. But for the most part, the direction of the country like mainly aligned. There's just few disagreements. That's why things seemed like they were so cordial back in the day. But right now we've split so much that it seems untenable the way forward unless one side or the other excises part of their party. And so what I'm hoping is that it becomes a landslide one way so much in November that either side, but I'm guessing because of what's happened recently, it's going to be the Democrats, excises the more extreme part of their party and says, we're not backing this shit anymore. Like, you guys burning down cities, you guys freaking out over these things, we don't care anymore. We got to go back over here and win the middle. Because when the middle becomes incised and awoken, that's when you're in trouble. And they keep thinking the sleeping giant that they awoken is the right. I don't think so. It's the moderate center of this country. The quote unquote independents that are like, what the fuck are these people doing? That's the part that they need to worry about, because most independents are I hate the term, but it's an accurate description. Most independents are fence sitters. They don't want to. They don't want to pick a side either way, and they swing elections back and forth based off the sentiment of the country. But now they're looking at one side of the fence and seeing that it's on fucking fire, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to be over there. We're going over here." So I don't think people are ready for that. That they push the moderate people in the center to the right, not necessarily in their views, but in their voting pattern. So we'll see what happens.
We will see.
I know. I've been talking a whole lot, and again, it's not our usual upbeat, fuck around, fucking podcast. Serious things require a serious tone, I think. Any thoughts or feelings on your end before we wrap this up?
Um, One that I'm having trouble forming words to in my brain. Uh, because
We'll try.
I tend to be one of the middle fence sitters. I'm essentially entirely apolitical.
No,
But
I know.
I wonder how much of your viewpoint, and so you're saying, that the those middles are becoming or are going to be woken up to lean right, saying what the fuck are the leftists doing? I'm wondering how much of that part of your viewpoint is because of your viewpoint, and if it really is that way or not. But I have not done any research to determine such. So
I tend to take a bird's eye view on things, and I stay back from a lot of like mainstream things because you never know which way the will blow. So like I think taking very strong positions on things gets you into trouble. A great example of that is I knew quite a few people who fell into the QAnon thing when it came out, and I was like, guys, like if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I love this grand conspiracy that you think's going on in the background, where fucking like there's this fucking insider group in the government that's trying to stop the corruption, and we're gonna shut things down, and it's gonna be fucking blackout central, and we're just gonna like do this fucking like take over the government. But I'm like, if it sounds like the plot to a fucking fiction novel, it probably is, and I've seen it on both sides. But the thing that I'm using to get this data from is the accounts that I've seen on YouTube, on TikTok, and from prominent figures like, do you know who Shoe on Head is?
only from you.
Yeah. So Shoe on Head is a very lefty creator that's been around since the whole before this shit that's going on with the left and right now. It was the anti social justice warrior crowd, and they were very much against the weird social justice warrior shit that was going on during the Obama days. Think well, not so much, but kind of like the oh, what was the stupid Wall Street shit people did where people were like protesting Wall Street, and then they were having like other like woke things. So she was left but anti social justice warrior. So she got labeled as like right wing at some points, but she's like, no, I want like socialism in this country. So I don't know what you're talking about. She had a massive twit longer where she basically was like, I can't be associated with these fucking people anymore. She's like, I'm very much still fiscally like a liberal, but I can't be associated with any of this stuff anymore. And she's been self-identified Democrat from the beginning, votes Democrat, and she like a back in the day like Bernie bro, like that kind of like person. And she's just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, you people are fucking crazy. And I've seen a lot of moderates, a lot of people with like rainbow hair where they're like, you look at me and you would think that I'm a liberal. I'm very much in the middle. I don't fucking like really care about either side, but the shit that you people are doing is disgusting. And that's the thing where like these people in the middle, and not everybody, I think there's still a lot of
Mm.
people that are just like, yeah, I don't give a fuck either way, and probably have their blinders on. More the people that aren't chronically online, but the portion of the center of the country that's on these platforms and online. And really what I've seen is people that have been scrolling through their For You pages on TikTok because they follow a lot of lefty creators, and seeing them celebrate are just like, what the fuck is going on with these people? Because all they seen it before is like, yeah, I'm pro this LGBT thing, or I'm pro these things, or like maybe I'm not pro Israel, I'm pro Palestine. So like very like, okay, you just have a different stance. And now they're seeing him, yeah, fuck that guy. Ah, it's great that he's dead. Ah, I hope his children like learn. Like they're seeing this shit and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And that's causing them to deep dive in these people more and realize like this is how they've been the whole fucking time.
Again, who are you seeing do that?
Just like random accounts on fucking TikTok. I've just been scrolling through like a bunch of it, like a fuck ton, because like I was very black pilled in this whole situation, but I got more gray pilled as I'm going through, and I'm like, oh, people are like realizing this shit's not okay, and there's a fuck ton of people calling it out. So again,
Again,
it's not like I have an
it,
infinite sample size, but from like what I see and like scrolling through, and a lot of people that like don't like from the rest of their content don't make political content. When you scroll through, they don't talk about it ever, but they
okay.
felt they had to talk about this shit, which to me is the canary in the coal mine.
Mm.
Because if you're just making like, hey, look at the pretty dress that I wear content, and then you're like, this is fucked up, like you're like,
Yeah,
okay.
that's a switch and something to notice. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I will say the thing where the switch in this is the greatest that I've noticed is the switch is flipped in women. And that's a very big driver of political tides and how things go. Um, if you want to follow trends of like how votes are going to go and how tides are going to shift, you look at the political opinions of women and what direction they go. Um, because they are the largest voting bloc in the country, but like also like they swing with these changing tides and opinions and feelings and the way that things are. So, when men tend to change their things on this, it's like, yeah, okay, but it's not really as much of a canary in the coal mine. I've been seeing a lot of like from going through TikTok, female accounts, and people varying from like 1 million subscribers to like fucking like 10,000 subscribers, all just like shifting of like, I don't give a fuck if I lose followers over this. You people are sick. So
Okay.
I don't know, and just the sheer amount of people that are getting fired from their jobs right now because of these people too is also like I think a pretty big indicator. And again, I'm still very concerned about that because people that are radicalized to the point where they're celebrating a man's death, if they lose a job, what will they do afterward? Because those kinds
Nothing
of
good.
people
Yeah.
don't tend to be, oh, I can just like fucking recover from this and build my own community or go find another job. They stew and then they do something crazy because they feel they have nothing left. I don't know. So we'll have to see. You fence sitter. No, I just know you're apathetic to
Yeah.
politics regardless. I know you don't like really care in that way. And I'm not saying this will necessarily like hold out because the problem is we have goldfish memory in this country and
Yeah.
this is now and November is a long way away.
Could be
So,
completely gone by then.
yeah, or something else crazy could happen.
Mm.
Who the fuck knows? It's a long time. But the way that it is now and the sentiment that's in the air now, if things continue the way they are, I expect to see a drastic shift. And then I expect to see on one side or the other a pullback from the rhetoric that leads to this. Because the other problem is, like with all this, like the gloves are off on some of these people because JD Vance today hosted Charlie Kirk's show in a remembrance thing because I guess he was a close personal friend with Charlie Kirk in a way that we weren't really aware of. But it seems like Trump had a more personal relationship with the guy too, and the crackdown on that side of like no fucks given, fuck it, we're going after these people could also backfire too.
Mm.
So again, depending which way this shifts in November, I think will depend whether we see pullback on like, okay, we can't crack down on people for like not liking this kind of shit, or we see, okay, we need to cut off the branch of our party that celebrates this kind of shit. So I think November is going to be the deciding factor on what happens. Because again, At the end of the day, politicians just care about keeping power, and they're going to go the way that makes them continue to have power. So if something's not working, they fucking cut it off like a gangrenous limb and move on to the next thing.
Or double down.
Yeah, but doubling down doesn't always work. And the problem is, right now, I think what the Democrat approval rating in the country is like 17%. It's fucking super low. So if they doubled down and it got them to where they're at, they can't triple down on it. If you doubling down doesn't work, you eventually just say, okay, cut my losses, walk away from the table. Unless you're a gambling addict. Which we've told before where to go to seek help for that. So
gambler.
Yeah, look that up in a previous video. But yeah, any other thoughts or questions on this? Because I've been deeply in all of it.
No, that was it.
And as things like spin forward, we'll probably bring out like more information on the killer. But right now, there's too many people on every side of the aisle trying to be like, oh well, he killed him because he wasn't conservative enough. Oh, he's actually liberal and that's why he killed him. Oh, he's fucking a Mossad agent and that's why he killed him. Like everybody's got like their own like.
There's too many rumors go flying.
Yeah, there's too many things behind it that like people are trying to do. I will also say, too, by the way, I meant to bring this up before, but I also think it's equally sick. On the same side of the fucking people that are celebrating death, I think the people right now putting out shirts and shit like that to make money off of this shit, too, are also equally disgusting.
Fuck you and fuck your merch.
Yeah, those people are fucking disgusting. And I hate every single one of you that immediately after this tried to put out like a Charlie Kirk like death shirt. Go fuck yourselves. Like, go fuck yourselves as equally hard as the people celebrating it shit, because both of you are fucking equally disgusting, in my opinion. And luckily, there's a lot of people calling
all of the money from your proceeds to Charlie and his family and his favorite charities.
Yeah, there's a lot of people calling that shit out, too. The only guy that I've seen that is the guy, you ever seen that? I don't know his name. The conservative rapper guy, he's got all the fucking face tattoos and shit.
Who, Jelly Roll?
Not Jelly Roll. No, it's some other guy. I see him come up on my thing every once in a while. I don't feel like looking it up now, but that guy, he made a song about the shit after Charlie died, and he put in the song that any money he makes from this, he's donating to like their charities and shit like that. He's not keeping a dime of it. So like that kind of shit I respect, but the people that are like making money off of this right now, literally, go fuck yourselves, and there's a very cold place in hell for you fucking people. Like, fucking disgusting. People that profit off of tragedy, disgusting.
Agreed.
But, all right. Well, if you got nothing else, we'll wrap up this very serious and somber episode. And
hopefully, this is the last time we have to talk about it. But if things develop, then I'm sure we'll be on here talking about it.
Yeah, we might bring up certain things in the future, but I'm hoping this is the last time this year we have to have an episode like this, talking about something like this. And next episode, we'll be back to our joyful and lighthearted selves. But yeah, I wanted to take this one seriously because I think it is.
When have you ever been joyful and lighthearted?
Well, I think we joke around a lot, but but. You know, like again, this I think deserved a more serious tone and a more serious conversation. Which is again, we're not doing the promo stuff in this. If you made it to the end, again, if you like us, look at some of the other videos. You see all the promo stuff in there. Where to find us, and we'll be back in the next one for something more cheerful and less somber, and hopefully more healing.
Thanks for listening, folks.
See ya.